I am a licensed attorney. I also own Law Clerk on Demand. I'm sorry, you're just looking at my logo today. Normally, you will see my face in this meeting. But, in regards to lead generation, looking for lists, that kind of stuff, that's typically my capacity. And marketing questions and stuff like that. But with that being said, again, we have Malhar with us today. I'm so excited he was able to join us. So with that being said, I'm going to spotlight his screen so that he can go ahead and talk. And if you guys have questions for him, just drop it in the chat, okay?
Cool. Well, thanks, DeOnna. I appreciate the introduction. First and foremost, hey guys, my name is Malhar Bhagat. I don't know why I'm so grainy. I'm actually using another computer. My computer crapped out yesterday, but I always have a couple of backup computers because if I don't have access to my computer, I don't get to make money. And that is a major issue, right? Especially in this day and age. So that's why I'm a little grainier. I think you guys probably see that on your side as well. This is an older computer, but I always have a couple of backups. So I'm glad I am able to join you guys. And I was talking to DeOnna a little bit about, what to share with this group. And I don't have necessarily a topic at hand, so I figured I'd kind of share very briefly what my story is, what my journey is, because I recognize a face or two, but I don't know most of the people on the call, even though it is a small call. So hopefully I can help you on your journey in real estate. So I'll tell you a little bit about myself. My name is Malhar Bhagat. On this side, this is all my Instagram, Facebook. So if you guys want to follow me, I use Instagram a lot more than I do Facebook these days, but Malhar Be Real is my brand, or my handle on Instagram. M2Res and Resource ATL are two of our companies. We have several companies. These are the two that we are consistently promoting these days. So if you want to see what we are into, you can follow all these different handles. Anyway, my real estate career began about 13 years ago. A little over 13 years ago. Long and short of it, I was coming into this business after essentially destroying my family business. So my family business was in the loose diamond industry. We were we were selling small diamond parcel, like a parcel of diamonds, say like that small, right? And tons of little diamonds in there. And we were selling those diamonds to jewelry manufacturers around the United States. And we all know kind of what happened in late 2007, 2008-ish. We had a global economic crisis, right? Lehman Brothers went bankrupt in 2008, et cetera. So during that time in 2007, long and short of it is we sold goods, and mostly I sold goods to people that just didn't pay us. I guess we kind of look at it as like we were victims of white collar crime. We overextended ourselves. And when I say ourselves, I really mean me, because my dad had kind of let loose of the reins. I never grew up with money. So here I was, young guy, wants to jump into the real estate game and wants to jump into the business game and make a lot of money, right? Like, not growing up with a lot of money in my life. It's just like an urge or need that was ignited within me. And so my dad kind of let loose of the reins because he didn't want to hold back an ambitious young guy that wants to make it in this world, let's say, right? Well, I overextended ourselves, and basically, long and short of it was $500,000 in debt before the age of 25. Largely felt responsible for destroying my entire family's livelihood. We got to a point I would say in like September of 2007, where we didn't even know how we were going to pay rent, how we're going to put food on the table, right? And so it was a very difficult time for us in our lives. And so we ultimately just, I was kind of putzing around for like a good 3 or 4 months. I was pretty darn depressed. And as a result of it, I didn't know what to do, right? Destroying the family business, on the verge of homelessness, right? And not just me, right? It's not just me being homeless. It's me and my family, right? My parents, who are substantially older than me, also having to face those difficulties. And so I had to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. You can't be a depressed 25-year-old and expect to make it in life, right? So I had to get out of that. And so how did I get out of that? So I went to this free 3-day seminar on real estate, right? So that's what I went to go do. I went for, there were these tickets on the coffee table. My mom was like, why don't you go check it out? You can't just stay depressed like this forever. Lucky enough for us, my mom was a bank customer service rep. They don't get paid a lot of money, but as a result of that, we were able to kind of skate by on a month-to-month basis on a very, very small sum of money. Still kind of amazed at how we made it through that time. Anyway, long and short of it is I went to this free 3-day real estate investment program where they sell you the dream, right? That's really kind of what they do. They sell you the dream. And on day 1 and 2, they teach you all about negotiation and one of the coolest ways to negotiate. And they talk to you about credit and get your credit card limits up, right? So I follow the instructions, call the credit card providers that I have and get my credit card limits up. And why do they do that? Because on day 3, what they plan on doing is selling you a $40,000 course, right? And so what did I do? I thought that this was the answer to my prayers, basically, right? And I went and I swiped $40,000 collectively across probably 5 different credit cards. And I enrolled in a real estate investing coaching program. They're not around anymore. I believe the company is defunct at this point, but I invested in them $40,000 that I did not have. I did not ask anyone's permission or buy-in to do that. It was my own credit. I didn't even talk to my parents about it. And so I enrolled in this real estate coaching program and started working at it. There were times where I would work literally from 7 in the morning to 11 at night, and I would keep on working, one foot in front of the other, just writing offer after offer after offer and not getting anything accepted. Actually, it took me about 2 months to get my first deal accepted, which, in these times and days, that doesn't seem like that long. But when you spent $40,000 that you don't have and no way of actually paying it back, you begin to wonder if this is going to work, right? So around 60 days in to me writing offers, I finally got a deal. It took me 120 offers to get that first deal, right? And so I got that first deal. Took me about 3 months to close. If you guys remember, that was, like I said, that was the global economic crisis, the Great Recession, as they've coined it now. And there were no hard money lenders around. I found one, and the only one that I found that was willing to do business with us as a brand new investor, charged me 6 points and 15% interest. And then, so that was my first deal, 6 points, 15%, plus I needed money as a down payment. So what did I do? credit cards, right? I learned about credit cards and balance transfers and how you could do a balance transfer into a checking account. And that's exactly what I did. And I used it as a down payment, and I did my first deal, made $18,000 on it. And I was hooked. I was like, wow, okay, this is the path. This is the way that I can kind of redeem myself after essentially putting my entire family's livelihood at stake, right? And so that's essentially what I did. And then for the first 3 years in this business, it was quite a struggle for me. Nowadays, you have tons of REIAs, tons of YouTube channels you can watch. Keep in mind, this is 2008. This is the starting phases of social media. I mean, Facebook was not even that big at that time. So I didn't have a large community or anything. There were REIA events here and there, but even those were fizzling out because so many people took a massive hit during the economic crisis. And so 2008, 9, 10 was incredible struggle. I was robbing Peter to pay Paul. And what I mean by that is I would take, Discover. I'd get a balance transfer from Discover to pay my Visa bill, get a balance transfer from American Express to pay my Citi card bill, right? I was playing credit card roulette, so to speak, right? Borrow from here to pay that. Because right after making my first deal, I lived in New Jersey at the time at my parents' place. Right after making my first deal, I decided to do something that I guess young 20-something-year-olds end up doing, blowing that money. I moved into New York City, right across the border. Expensive. I don't really regret doing that, because some of the relationships I have now, that many of them are my lenders, came as a result of me those relationships when I moved early. And so by 2010, I felt like, okay, I got to figure this out. I don't know how to figure this out. So I think my problem is not that I'm not doing the right things. I think my problem is I don't have enough education. And so what do I go and do? I go find another coaching program and spend some more money on credit cards, right? And thinking my problem was education, I spent $20,000 in that coaching program. And but that program helped me change one thing, and it was the mindset. Yeah, they taught me some tactical stuff, but none of the tactical stuff really was all that different from the first coaching program. But what it did teach me, and this is probably one of the biggest lessons I've learned in business ever, which was stop thinking about everything as an expense and begin to think about everything that you're spending, especially marketing, as a investment, right? And when I had that mindset shift, right, it changed the entire game for me, right? I began to look at any investment, time or money in my business, as an investment to see how, in a certain period of time, how can I see a solid return on investment? Right. So now if I'm spending money on marketing, I don't expect to make the money back tomorrow. Right. I have a time frame. Usually that time frame is 6, 9, or 12 months. And I commit to saying, okay, we're going to spend whatever it may be, let's say $1,000 on this marketing channel. Well, I commit that we're going to spend at least $6,000, $9,000, or $12,000 on this marketing channel. And we're only going to be spending $1,000 a month, but I better be committed to spending that 6, 9, 12 at a minimum before I see a return on that investment. Okay. So that's how I started thinking about my life. When you grow up with very little money in your family, this is what I was programmed to do and think. When you're not making money, what do? You cut expenses. right? And so that's what I kept doing in my life. I kept cutting expenses, and marketing wasn't producing an immediate return for me. So I figured, okay, let me just cut that expense out. Well, I was doing a massive disservice to myself, because at the end of the day, I wasn't getting leads. And this business is all about leads. So fast forward, I joined that program. I had that mindset shift. And as a result of that mindset shift in 2011, we made more money in our business than we had as a family over the last 7 years combined. We had our first high six-figure year, right? And all it was I worked on this thing right here, right? And we had our first six-figure year. And then ever since that year, 2011, 2012, we grew. 13, we grew. And then in 13, we actually moved from New York down to Atlanta. I had just gotten married. A week after I got married, I talked to my wife and I said, hey, what are we doing here living in New York? We're investing in Atlanta. We were investing in several markets around the country, and Atlanta was really gaining some good traction for us. So I told my wife, right, who had just gotten married with a week prior, I said, why don't we go out to Atlanta and really try to blow this thing up big time, right? And I thought she was going to say no. Well, she ended up calling my bluff. She said yes, right? And so late 2013, we moved to Atlanta, and I spent all my money at the time for the move, right? Also being an investor, I negotiated a lower rent with my then landlord. And so I agreed to pay 6 months up front. So I had very little money when I moved to Atlanta, because most of my money had gone to paying off a whole bunch of credit card debt, marriage debt, like I'm Indian. Indian weddings are not cheap. So we paid off the wedding, the whole 9 yards, right? So despite making money, I was paying off a ton of debt that I still had from previous years. And so I had very little money when I moved to Atlanta back in late 2013. And so our moving truck arrives. This is literally like the first day in Atlanta. Moving truck arrives. We're unpacking all our stuff, and we go out to have dinner for literally 1 hour. 1 hour. All right. I think it was like between the hour of 7 to 8 p.m. We go out, grab a bite to eat, come back home, and we had been broken into. And they had stolen 3 of our computers and our TV. And like I said earlier on this call, I didn't have my computer yesterday, and that almost disables me, right? So I'm on a backup computer, like I said. But when you don't have a computer, you can't conduct any business, right? So what did I do? Go right back into my credit cards and ended up having to buy 2 brand new computers just so me and my wife could work. And mind you, my wife didn't know a lot in real estate at the time. And so we kind of started from scratch in early 2014, late 2013. And but we kept our head down and we kept building. And so we got really, really good at rehabbing houses. Actually, as you can see in my background, this is one of our houses from a couple of years ago. I'm not actually sitting in it, but it's just a background. But yeah, as you can see, we stage them real nice. They look tight. You'll walk through our houses. We do a really nice job. Why? Because we know that our quality sells for really good pricing. So 2014, that's what happened. And then our business just grew every single year, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and now 21. During the course of that time frame from 14 to 21, which is about 7 years now, we got better and better at rehabbing houses. So we got so good at rehabbing houses that at one point in time, we were doing anywhere from 15 to 18 rehabs at a time. And mind you, our rehabs are not small rehabs for the most part, although we've started doing a lot more cosmetic stuff, and we change as the market changes. But most of our rehabs were full on gut rehabs, right? And so we would do a lot of gut rehabs. Hey guys, if you've joined just now, go ahead and mute yourself, please. Thank you. And so most of our rehabs tend to be major gut rehabs, right? And so we were doing anywhere from 15 to 18 rehabs at a time, and it looked great on paper. I would say around 2016, 17, it looked great on paper. We had all these rehabs going, all this profit in the future, right? But we ran into some cash flow issues. Why? Because I overextended, I overextended, and I said to myself, oh, we can take on all these projects. And in theory, we could, because we had the money, but we didn't have the money to carry it should something go wrong. So when we were running those, I think it was like 17 projects at a time, 14 of them were our bread and butter projects. When I say bread and butter, we knew how to do ARVs of 300 to 600,000. Like, we knew how to bang them out, even though they were gut renovations. But we also were running $3 million+ deals at the same time. Me thinking to myself, oh, on paper it all looks good, and why do a deal that makes me 50 or 60,000 when I can do a deal that makes me 250,000? Well, in theory that all sounds good, but a lot more can go wrong. On large scale renovation projects, higher end projects, a certain standard is required when you do those types of projects. So anyway, long and short of it, what happened was we ran into a cash crunch. And I'll never forget this. It only happened once in our business. We ran into a spot where we couldn't make payroll that week for our contractors, not for our business, but for our contractors, because we didn't get paid that week for our business. And I can remember looking at my wife and telling her, I can't make payroll this week for our contractors. I need you to push it off for 1 week, and I'll work on getting funds to tie us over. And that was another major shift in my real estate career. At that point, I kept telling the world at large that we're rehabbers, we're builders, we're rehabbers, we're builders, right? And that was the only exit strategy that I had working for us. And if I hadn't gotten an unsecured loan from one of my lenders at that time, you guys wouldn't even know who I am. Right? It was that bad of a situation. Imagine having 15 projects going on and only having about $30,000 in the bank. Well, that's exactly the situation I was in. Right. And it was very scary. Right. And I had to make a call and humble myself. I was lucky enough to call one of my lenders who had become a good friend of mine, and I'd consistently produced every return that I had always told him. And I said, listen, man, I'm in a tight jam. I need $375,000, and I'm not going to be able to give you a single lien on any property. You just got to trust me. Right. And I'd done such a good job with all of the work that we had done thus far together that, he had to think about it. But then he called me the next day. He's like, listen, I trust you. I know you're going to figure this out, and I'm willing to help you out. Right. And he gave me a loan for $375,000 unsecured, which allowed me to get through all these 17 projects, right? Which most of them turned out great, right? Our bread and butter, we made a ton of money on all of them, right? But on all 3 of the $1 million+ deals, we lost money on all 3 of them. Grand total, we probably lost about $165,000 on all 3 of those $1 million+ deals, right? It wasn't our wheelhouse, but we made a substantial amount of money on all those other rehabs that we were doing, which was fantastic. But here's what I'm trying to say, right? To learn from this lesson, what I learned was I'm no longer a rehabber. I'm no longer a builder. I am an investor. Okay, we still rehab a ton of houses, right? But I don't just confine myself to one exit strategy. As a result of that happening, here's all the different things we did in our business. We started a wholesaling company. Now we wholesale a lot of houses. We rehab a lot of houses. We own short-term rentals. We own long-term rentals. We lend money. I do coaching. We do consulting. We buy tax liens. So what I'm really trying to say is, once you get really good at doing one thing, right? Like our one thing is rehabbing houses. We are arguably one of the best rehabbers that I know in Atlanta. And it's not me, right? It's our team. My wife became a licensed general contractor about 3.5 or 4 years ago. And she's amazing at doing rehabs, and she won't cut corners, which is fantastic because it continues to build on our brand. I do a lot of the back end stuff, acquisitions. Our team, we're constantly marketing. We're constantly pulling leads in. We have acquisitions team, sales side. So I'm a real estate agent. Now I mostly just list our own properties. And then I only have one friend who is a client who basically begged me to list his properties, because we've kind of perfected that listing process to get, some of the best deals done. And these days in this market right now, if you have a quality property on your hands, selling it is not an issue as long as you price it properly. So, obviously saving some money on commissions that way. But I built such a solid track record, for example, with my lenders, that now I have several lenders that to loan unsecured completely, which means I can do whatever I want with the money as long as I'm responsible, right, for it. As in, if anything goes wrong, Malhar, you're responsible for it. So you need to figure out how to get in or out of the deal, right? And so that's the type of relationships I've been able to forge based off of consistently doing good work and taking care of my lenders. So as a result of that, we raised all this capital to use ourselves, but sometimes we don't have enough opportunities going on or something like that. So instead of me paying for that money, we lend it out, and that's the arrangement. I'm very transparent with my lenders, and now we have multiple businesses. Last I counted, we pull in money in 14 different ways through real estate. So that's been pretty cool. I always forget a few of them, but then I remember, oh yeah, we do tax liens as well, or different types of deals, subject twos or whatever it may be, that we get involved with. So that's a little bit about my journey. Hopefully you guys caught some of the nuggets that I was trying to share in my journey, and the things that I've learned over time. Just to kind of re-emphasize a couple of them, right? Like marketing is an investment, not an expense. I used to think of it as a expense, and that held me back. The other thing that I've realized in this business, cash flow is king. Cash flow is king, right? Or queen, right? Whatever gender you choose, cash flow matters. Profits matter to a point, but if you can never get to the payday, right, because you don't have enough cash to keep paying for your expenses on a monthly basis, you'll shut down your business before you can get to the finish line, right? That was that big lesson that I shared with you guys, where we almost lost it all, right? Because I put too many chips into the pot, thinking that we were more capable than we actually were. A lot of lessons learned on during that time. It was basically early to mid 2016 to about mid 2017. Now here's the other thing. After that happened, and I looked at my books, right, we were actually having a down year. And I don't like that. Our business has consistently grown every single year. And I was looking at the books at the end of July in 2017. And I remember thinking to myself, wow, we might have a down year this year, and I don't like that, right? And that is what fueled the change in thought process in my mind. Instead of calling myself a rehabber, I started calling myself an investor. And what does an investor do that's different than a rehabber? An investor looks at an opportunity first and then decides how they're going to monetize it. A rehabber looks at an opportunity and only tries to rehab it, right? And if I can't rehab it and flip it, then this is not the deal for me, right? So now we've diversified, and all these businesses, additional streams of income came as a result of us having all these leads coming in and saying to ourselves, well, I can't flip this house, but maybe there's another way for me to monetize this particular lead. And that's how we started partnering with people, wholesaling deals, wholetailing, rentals, the whole 9 yards, right? A lot of other, obviously stories in that entire journey. But yeah, if you guys have questions, I'm happy to answer them. I love doing Q&A because sure, you guys hopefully got some value out of me sharing my story, but if I can answer some questions for you guys that might be more relevant to your situation, perhaps that would be beneficial to you. So yeah, as DeOnna said, type in your questions or feel free to unmute yourself and say hello. Or if you don't have questions, that means you have all the answers. So I'm actually looking for deals. We're actively always buying. This is, it's on Mirrored Bone. So you can hit me up on Instagram. We are literally always buying. I'm buying one tomorrow. I'm buying one on Tuesday. We closed on 4 last week. We buy heavily, right? Why? Because I got to deploy all this capital. We got to keep it moving. Otherwise, I'm paying for it. And I don't like to pay for money that's just sitting on the sidelines. So yeah, what questions do you guys have, if any? And if none, just say hello. Don't be shy. I don't bite.
Hey guys, all right, now is the time. Let's check in. I've been very aggressive in the chat. I want you to unmute and say hey to Mohar. Let's know what's up, what you guys got going on. Because if you're not presenting a deal today, you guys know I'm spicy in my meetup, so I like to know what you guys are doing. So if you are not saying, I got a deal for you, Mohar, so please buy this deal, then we should have questions, right? So whether it's a marketing question, whether it's a why isn't my phone ringing, maybe cash flow, whatever it is, especially with this being a smaller group and a smarter group. Yeah, we'll add that too. This is a great opportunity to talk. Okay, we've got a question in the chat. I can't seem to find a deal. But I'm looking at it from a wholesaling point. What should I be doing? This is Dana.
Okay, so that's a great question, right? A lot of people are finding it challenging right now to find deals. So how can you find a deal? I think really what it comes down to is this. People always ask me this question. Hey, Mohar, what's the secret list that you're using? And, DeOnna can talk about lists all day long, I'm sure, until her face turns blue, because she's the queen at understanding that arena, that marketing piece, right? But, what's that secret list that you use? And I tell everyone, here's the secret list that we use. Absentee owners, right? And they're like, that's no secret. I'm like, no, duh, it's not a secret. Here's the thing. It's not a secret. Every single thing works. People always ask me, what innovative list are you using? What innovative? I don't have an innovative marketing strategy. We do RVM, which is ringerless voicemail, which I'm sure everyone on this call has heard about. We do SMS, so text messaging. That's something else everyone else on this call has heard about. And I bet you can guess what my third one is. We do cold calling, which everyone else on this call knows about, right? So we do those 3 things, and we do absentee homeowners. I'm sure many of you guys on this call have done exact same thing. Now, here's where we're different than everyone else, right? Because they all work, all right? The question is, how much are you willing to work it? We have by far, I've looked at other people's systems, hands down, by far, we have probably one of the most robust follow-up systems in place beyond anyone else that I've ever even heard of. I'll give you a case in point. We recently closed a deal. We bought it and sold it already. We recently closed a deal in January of 2021. So we bought it, I think it was January 8th, 2021. We bought the deal. The first time we marketed to this particular individual was November 2018. Okay, so that's 2 years and about 3 months later that we ended up closing on the deal. That's very substantial. I checked in our system just because I was like, oh, this is a long deal. I wonder how many times we followed up. I actually counted it. 172 times is how many times we followed up on that deal. Okay, so that's really kind of what I'm saying to you is, how do you find a deal? Your follow-up game has to be more robust than anyone else. And that's what happens. Oftentimes in this market, we lose out to the next guy, right, who offers more, but that doesn't mean that that deal closes. Okay, what matters more is, can we get to the closing table, right? And that's where we differentiate ourselves. We tell the seller, hey, listen, we understand you're going with the higher offer, but if for whatever reason it doesn't work out, let us know. We're still interested in the opportunity. So here's what we do. If we lose out on a deal, we follow up with that same seller. We follow up a week later. Hey, how's it going? Oh, it looks like it's gonna work out. Or, I don't know yet. It's still early. Okay, no problem. I'll follow up with you next week. We'll follow up the next week. We'll keep following up until that deal closes. And I can easily tell you 50 to 60%, maybe even 70% of those leads that we follow up on fall out of contract, right? And now here we are consistently following up on that deal. And now they're a lot more open because for whatever reason, they couldn't sell the property. Usually it's a wholesaler that contracted the property for too high, right? So a lot of people have been asking me right now, have you changed your criteria so that you can keep buying? No, my criteria does not change. I buy deals at the same prices or same margins right now in 2021 that I used to in 2011, 10 years ago, right? I don't change my criteria. Here's what I did. Instead of changing my criteria, what I did is I proliferated my exit strategies, right? I went out and I found out who are the end buyers that are paying these crazy prices on these deals. Guess what happened as a result of that search? And it wasn't an easy search. I had to really search, right? And what I realized was it's hedge funds, right? So I said, okay, we got to find the hedge funds. How do we find the hedge funds? Well, real simple tool that we used, LinkedIn, right? First off, we found out who the hedge funds were, right? How did we do that? Well, we went into different neighborhoods. We pulled up public record information, and then we looked at, hey, which ones are sound like funds or companies? And we kept seeing the same names pop up over and over and over again. And we were like, this is probably a fund. Then what did we do? We took that name and we put it into Google, and lo and behold, we find out it's a fund. Okay, fantastic. Now we take that name and we go to LinkedIn and we use the name of that company and see everyone that works for that company. And what did we do? Yeah, we started cold messaging all these LinkedIn people, right? Tons and tons of messages until eventually one or two of them would respond. Oh yeah. And we would present ourselves in a professional manner, but not a really long paragraph, 2-paragraph message. It would be short and simple. Hey, we're a investor in the Metro Atlanta market. It's our understanding that you buy properties there. We'd love to be one of your inventory providers, right? Could you put us in touch with your acquisitions department? That's it. Simple, a simple like 3-4 liner a message like that. And we just started sending that same message over and over and over again to all these different funds. As a result of that, now we work with 5 different funds that buy a ton of our wholesale deals. And guess what? We're able to pay more than the average wholesaler can because we know exactly what our end buyer wants, right? So that's one of the ways that we were able to, if we couldn't beat them, we joined them in that way, right? So hedge funds is one place. Subject to deals, right? We can pay more if we do a subject to type of deal. Creative financing, right? But the funds don't like houses that need major work. Well, guess what? I like houses that need major work. So what do? If it doesn't work as a flip, now I start putting on another hat, which is, can I make this deal work as a short-term rental? Can I make it work as a long-term rental, right? So now we take a lead, we look at a lead, and then we say, okay, how can I monetize this lead versus saying, I'm a rehabber, all I know how to do is rehab houses, right? And that expanded our business tremendously. So if you can't seem to find a deal, I think really what it comes down to is, what are you doing on a consistent and daily basis, A, and how robust is your follow-up system, right? Are you following up on every single lead that you've ever talked to, right? Anyone that responds to our SMS, responds to our cold calling campaign, responds to our RVM, we got you, and we got you for life, basically, right? You're either going to do one of 2 things. Number 1, you're going to either sell the house, or number 2, you're going to tell me to take you off the list. Those are the only 2 ways you ever leave our list. Once we have you, you're in our follow-up system for literally forever, right? We do not stop following up. Why? Because we have virtual assistants that do that for us, right? We create a system that was low cost and low time for us. And now we have virtual assistants that keep on following up. That 172 times I checked, and maybe 6 or 7 of the conversations was one of our team members, one of our acquisitions people. The other 165 or so were all, right? So that's the type of follow-up I'm talking about. And if you're robust in your follow-up system, you will find deals. It's law of averages. Eventually, you're going to land on something. I hope that helps you, Dana.
It definitely helps. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
I'm sorry, I'm outside.
No worries.
So when you do your follow-up, how long do you wait between, like, if I contacted someone by SMS and they say, no, I'm not looking to sell right now, and I say, okay, thank you, but if you change your mind, reach out. How long after that should I wait to follow back up with them? 3 months, 6 months, a year?
So I think it depends on the situation, right? So we categorize our leads in 3 different ways: cold leads, warm leads, and hot leads. So what you're talking about is what I would probably classify as a cold lead, right? A cold lead is usually going to be like a 60-day, maybe even a 90-day follow-up. Okay. So 2 to 3 months. But if we have a warm lead that's like, I'm interested, but I got to work out some things and see, that might even be a hot lead, right? So we start looking at what solutions can I present this person with, right? One of the number 1 questions that I ask my team, if they bring me a deal and they're like, hey, we're really close to getting this under contract, or they might have even put the deal under contract, right? The very first question that I ask them is this: you put this deal under contract, or we're almost there. What is the reason they're selling, right? If I cannot have that question answered by the team member that's bringing me the deal, they need to get back on the phone and figure out from this seller the reason that they're selling the house. Because if they're selling the house due to a distressed situation, now I know, okay, they have some sort of situation that they need a resolution for. And if the only tool in my tool belt that I have is price, I tell my team this all the time: we don't compete on price, right? 9 times out of 10, we're not the highest buyer out there, period. I mean, it's just, that is what it is, right? Why? Because I like to protect our margins, right? I don't like to do deals like the deal behind me, right? I don't want to do this extensive of a renovation project to make $15,000. Doesn't make sense for me. It's too much risk, right? I want to make $50,000, $60,000 at a minimum on a project like this, right? So I'm not always the highest guy, right? And so it all depends on their situation and their motivation for me to figure out, hey, what is the follow-up going to be? And we've trained our team, right? If it's someone that sounds hot, hey, I just need to, the tenant's moving out on the 15th and today's the 7th. Guess what? This person's going to hear from me at least twice before the 15th. And then on the 16th, he's going to hear from me as well as the 15th, probably, until we get a contract signed, right? That's a hot lead. But if this guy's like, you know what, I'm making some decent cash flow. You give me an offer, you're the one that reached out to me. That might be more of a warm to cold lead. That might be something that I might follow up in 3 or 4 weeks, okay? Versus the 7-day or 3-day, right? And then you have the very cold ones, which are just like, yeah, I'm not really interested right now, or you called me, you tell me, that type of thing. That just sounds very cold. That's like a 2 or 3 month follow-up, right? And here's what we do, right? The VA takes the call, right? They don't take it live. Actually, they're usually returning the call. So the virtual assistant returns the call. We call them twice in a row. So if they don't pick up the first time, we call them again right away, right? So sometimes they'll pick up the phone. Are there sellers that get pissed off? Yeah, there are. I mean, that's part of the business, right? But that we call them twice, whatever. It is what it is. It's not going to stop us from doing business. So we'll call them back to back, right? And if they don't pick up, usually what happens is the VA will call them every day for the next 10 days in a row, right? Except Sunday. So they don't work Sunday. So it'll be Monday through Saturday, and then they take off Sunday. Actually, no, it's Tuesday through Saturday because they get Sunday and Monday off. And then next Tuesday, they'll call that whole week. Usually they'll pick up, if they don't pick up on the 11th one, then we put them in what's called discovery. And with discovery leads, what we do is we compile them, and then we actually hire someone to go door knocking on that. Like I said, we don't quit on leads, right? Does that provide some clarity for you, Dana?
Yes, it definitely does. So it sounds like you just use different strategies to try and get a hold of these sellers.
Yeah. And when we can't find a seller sometimes, I mean, those are some of the best leads. You got to think about that, right? If I can't get in touch with a seller, if my team can't get in touch with a seller, that more than likely means that no other investor knows how to get in touch with this seller, right? So those are some of our best leads. So what do? We start going on Facebook. We go on Google. We have a couple of subscription services that we invest in, right? Where we can find a lot of information about people, right? If that doesn't work, we'll find their cousin, we'll find their auntie, we'll find their grandma, their brother, a neighbor, whatever it may be, right? We try to find this person, especially if it's a distressed property, overgrown, looks vacant, it's probably been vacant for like 5 years, right? In some cases, that's the case. We've even talked to sellers that have no idea that they still own the property. So here's what we tell them. Listen, we'll pay you $10,000. You want a free check for $10,000? You already wrote this off. We'll handle all the headache, right? Back taxes and this lien and that lien. We'll handle all that. Here's a $10,000 check, 20, whatever it may be, 20, 25, 50, whatever the number is that gets them to sign that makes sense for us, right? It's got to make sense for us first and foremost. So we still know, hey, we can't pay more than 70,000 for this property. But if you wrote this off already, Mr. or Mrs. Seller, then, here's a check, well, you got to come to this closing attorney's office. We'll do we'll do a full-on closing and you'll get paid $10, $15, $20,000 that you weren't expecting to get. So yeah, that's kind of how we do it. Hope that helps.
Also, I've noticed that, I thank you for that.
Yeah.
But I've noticed that even some of the sellers are wanting like full asking price, or I'm in Texas. So I've seen some people say, well, it's not for the house, it's for the land. And this is how much I want for, because around them, gentrification, I guess, is going on. And that's what they're banking on when they're wanting to even talk about a deal or an offer, excuse me.
Well, there are strategies out there where you can offer full price for a property and still make a substantial amount of money. Like if you do a subject to or a seller finance deal, right? If I don't win on price, then I try to win on terms. If I can't win on either, then it's probably not a deal for me. But I'm a real estate agent. So if I wanted to, I could list the property, although I don't. But at a minimum, what I do with a lead like that is I forward it to another agent that I know. They'll pay me a portion of their commission once they get the listing. And as a result of that, last year alone, we probably made a small 5-figure sum of just referral fees, right? At a minimum, that helps me pay for my marketing, right? So that's what I mean, right? Like when I say exit strategies, if they want 100% of market value for their house, sure, Mr. Seller, I'll pay you 100% of the market value of your house, but I can pay you over time. Are you willing to take payments of, let's say I'll put $5,000, $10,000 down and I'll make payments over the next 36 months or 60 months, right? I always like to say in months. I don't like to say the word years because that sounds longer, right? Over the next 50 months, I'll pay you $700 a month, right? And I'll pay you a balloon payment at the end of the 60 months for, $90,000, right? And, whatever the math is, if I had an easel, I could talk to you guys through some math. But if that property, for example, if I'm making payments for $700 a month, but if that property rents for $1,400 a month, guess what I just did? I just created a cash flowing asset that I bought for 100% of value, right? Another way we've actually done deals that are full price, we'll buy them and we'll sell them on a lease option. So we can buy them on a lease option and then we can sell them on a lease option. They're called sandwich lease options. All right. I'm not going to get into that, right? But here's what I'm really trying to say. You can find more deals if you proliferate or learn about alternative exit strategies. It's like the guy whose only tool is a hammer. If your only tool is a hammer and all you know how to do is hammer things, well, guess what? You'll never be able to screw in a doorknob or, use plot. I mean, maybe there's a bad example, but you get my point, right? If your only tool is a hammer, that's all you know how to do. Go bang around town trying to find something to hammer, right? Versus using a screwdriver or a wrench or any other tool in your toolbox. And that's how I see exit strategies. I look at exit strategies as tools in my toolbox.
And how did you learn about the other exit strategies? Is it just because you just happened to come upon that when you were going through maybe a specific property or something?
Yeah, I would recognize, hey, this is a gap in my knowledge. Let me go learn about it. So, in this day and age with social media and the internet, I mean, YouTube, right? Like if you guys don't know what some of the terminology I spoke about was, hopefully you were taking some notes. Go to YouTube, type in subject to real estate investor. How does a subject to deal work? I guarantee you'll find at least 20 to 30 videos. And my big rule of thumb is whenever I'm trying to learn something off of YouTube, I'll watch like 5 or 6 different videos just so I know that I'm really capturing the essence of what's being talked about. The other thing that I do is I invest in my education. If I don't know something, I'll spend a couple $1,000s to learn it from someone, right? Or more, right? Or more, whatever it is, right? Because I recognize, hey, I'm going to spend $2, $3, $4, $5, whatever, $10,000 to learn this strategy. And it's up to me to go out and implement this strategy, which is going to make a substantial return on my investment. Because, hey, if I spend $10,000, but I make an extra 50,000 this year, and then next year I'll make another 75 grand, is it worth it to me? Heck yeah, it is. Right. So, I digress a little, but the number one thing that I make sure that I'm investing in is my knowledge base all the time, right? Because that's how I learn. That's how I've learned how to structure so many profitable deals. We've been in this business now for 13 years. We've done over 500 deals, right? And at any given time, we have anywhere from 15 to 25 deals in our pipeline, ownership, contract, loans out, some short-term rental, something like that going on, right? And we're always not worrying, but always working on continuously building our pipeline. That's the game, right? Like I'm looking at the front of the funnel, right? For you guys, it'd be this, whatever, right? Whatever front is, right? I look at the front of the funnel. How many opportunities are we getting to see on a daily basis, right? If we're not getting a substantial amount of opportunities to see on a daily basis, here's what happens with my team. They try to make crappy deals work. And I'm always telling them, I'm like, this is why are we wasting time talking to this seller? They're not budging on price. We need this here. You guys are stuck over here. There's a massive gap over here. Why don't we just forward this to one of our listing agents, right? Move on. And I've started teaching my team that, right? Like, and really harping on it over the last couple of years, and they finally are getting it. They're like, all right, this deal doesn't work. Let's just monetize it another way, right? But they've exhausted all of their possibilities. They've tried to, first offer they always give is a cash offer, all right? The second offer, if the cash offer doesn't work, the second offer is, okay, we can pay you more with a terms offer, like subject to, like a lease option, or if neither of those work, then we're like, all right, well, worst case scenario, maybe we can list it for them, right? And so that's kind of how we approach it. We knock out one strategy and we really go hard at that cash offer. If that doesn't work, then we go really hard at that subject to or seller finance offer. If that doesn't work, then we go on to alternative exit strategies. For example, like, this is a little bit more of a complex strategy that you guys can learn about. I'm not going to talk a lot about it, but a novation, right? Most people don't even know what the heck a novation is, but you guys can do some Google searching on that and YouTube University and check out some videos. But that's how I go about learning. Invest in yourself, guys. I mean, the fact that you guys are here on this call for an hour in the evening on Wednesday today, right? Shows that you guys are investing in your education. Fantastic. Keep showing up to do that. But this doesn't just happen once a week on Wednesdays. It has to happen on a daily basis, right? I learn stuff every day from everyone, right? Brand spanking newbies also. I learn strategies that they're willing to try and I'm not. Maybe because I don't know, full of BS. I don't know.
This is so good. And you guys, I just want to say in regard to your interest in creative finance. So last year I was running the Creative Deals group, like literally through the pandemic. I ran that group. I'm pretty sure I had you come, Malhar. Did you do you might be on my YouTube. I don't know.
Maybe.
Meetings,
we
right?
do a lot. Yeah,
we do so many meetings, it's a blur. But one of the resources, you guys, you can go over to my YouTube and watch all of the when we were South Atlanta REIA, but all of our meetings are recorded. And so there are investors from Georgia who are doing creative deals. So you literally just type in law clerk on demand and go to my YouTube, and it looks like a Zoom just like this. And you can watch, I'm telling you guys, hours and hours of them really going through deals, okay? Like really going through analysis. And some of them will probably pop into this meeting. Like for example, we had Justin Chip come in. He loves creative deals. I would be following Malhar on social media as well. Make sure you stay connected with him so you can see the different deals and things that he's posting. You always tell a really good story on Facebook whenever you have a closing or a deal you're working on. So make sure you're following him so you guys can see that and see, if he mentions, the strategies that he used for his deals. But I just wanted to point that out as a resource. But if you guys, need a couple people, because just running that group, I just always had to look it up. And I probably can name all the investors who are doing these strategies because I had to find them all to speak at this meeting. So just let me know if y'all have questions. But it is so important for 2021 for y'all to catch that. That was a major gem that he gave you. You need to be listening for opportunities to get those deals. I'm happy to answer questions legally about how to protect yourself in those contracts. But the main thing is just doing the marketing to find those deals, and then the rest comes together. The last thing I want to say is we do have we still have the Creative Deals group. I think it's run by William Tingle now. So just go on REI USA and click on that group. And I think you can talk to him at least once a month. So just wanted to put out those. So you guys have the support. I mean, literally everything you need is right here in this organization. And Malhar, vetted coach, teacher. Actually, I'll say this, Damien, who was just here last month, if you were listening to him, this is who he was talking about, guys. You just connect the dots. So this is literally one of his mentors. So that's so great that we get to see this, like everybody working together and supporting each other to get to the closing table. So just wanted to add those gems.
But thank you guys for all this good information. This was really good.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah. And sometimes when you get me started, I just go and go. DeOnna knows this because we do a Thursday clubhouse, but you get me revved up and go. I'm passionate about this, guys. I mean, I shared with you my story. 13 years ago, I had nothing, right? And now we have multiple multi-million-dollar businesses. We always have deals going on. And how does that happen? I didn't wake up one day, right, and just have all this opportunity. I just had to keep moving forward one step in front of the other. And if you guys don't know, right, find others that have walked that same path as you. I mean, especially in this day and age, 2021, with us being so much more connected in technology, just imagine how different it was 13 years ago, starting not having Clubhouse, or heck, I don't even think Zoom existed back then. All these different Instagram wasn't around. YouTube wasn't, I think YouTube was just starting out. It was in its early few years or something like that. So it's you have so many resources out there. Just be more resourceful, right? I know there's tons of different websites that you guys can learn some of this information. REI USA, you guys are a part of this group, right? Jump on the calls, reach out to people. People text me on Instagram regularly, right? I may not be able to respond right away, but within a few days, typically I'll respond to every single message. Why? Because I know if I keep putting good out into the universe, eventually something will come back to me. And I don't even do it for that. I'm passionate about this business because it's made such a difference in not only my life, but my family's life as well. And that's why I have a passion for teaching this. So yeah, Damien has coached with me for some time in the past, and now we do deals together, right? So yeah, don't discount the fact that there's a lot of knowledgeable people in your circles.
I love that. It's such a great story, even the connection between you and Damien, because I mean, he really grinded. And, so if you're new and you're like, I'm not sure, like, will this happen for me? I'm just telling you as someone who, I provide the list. So I'm usually in the meeting and I'm like the middle person between the coaches and the investors. And to see you guys go from, I don't know what to do, I don't know how to get started, to getting with a really good coach or getting in the right program or staying connected to REI USA, you will get to the closing table. You just have to take heed to the advice you're going to get every time you come to this meeting. So I'm excited. I'm excited for the couple of folks we got in here, because hopefully you learned some new strategies, or at least, most importantly, you are encouraged about getting to your next deal. I do want to say, if you have an iPhone, make sure you download Clubhouse and you follow us. Maher, your room is tomorrow, right?
Correct. Yep. 6 p.m. Eastern.
Yes.
Real estate, real talk.
Yes. So, I mean, you guys can meet him there. He brings the whole crew. That room is really high energy. I actually enjoy it. You guys come in swinging. So make sure you guys.
You just cut out.
Wait, say that one more time. You cut out.
I think you were cutting out, or maybe it was me. I'm not.
Oh, it could be both of us. Your bar, I have red bars, and you might have red bars. I was just saying they needed to follow you, and it was a good group. Hopefully, can y'all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, and you can hear Mohar still?
He's breaking in and out.
Okay. Okay.
He said it's my connection.
We probably took all of his juice, because he brought the house down today. Even on the backup computer, he is no joke. Exactly the same time. That's how we know you're the real deal. What if you were on your regular computer? Our computers would probably be smoking. Guys, any other questions before we take the last little percentage of Maher's juice this evening? Any other questions or comments? So Dana, you said you are investing here in, are you located here in Georgia? Did you say that?
No, my daughter's there, but
Okay.
I go back and forth between Texas and Georgia, because I'm going and I stay with her for like a month or so, and then I come back to Texas, but then I come back out. So in fact, I'll be out there.
Gotcha.
I'll be out there next month, actually, towards the end of next month, and I'll be there through the month of June.
Okay, cool. Yes, it rang a bell as soon as you said Texas. I know exactly who you are. Well, I hope that you connect with Maher, connect with the folks that are here, and I'm so happy you became a member and
Oh yeah,
participating. That's great.
yeah. I think it was you that I kind of led me this way, because I think I had seen heard you on Clubhouse, and then I eventually started just coming out and looking, and end up joining the group. And it's been really a good group, because I've listened to various or attended various trainings and everything. So everybody's been really good what they've presenting.
Wonderful. That's what we like to hear. This is about you guys getting good quality real estate education. Maher is putting all his info in the chat, which, I mean, he's got this bomb background. So if you don't know how to follow him on Instagram, it's right there, y'all. So, and Clubhouse. So tomorrow, 6 o'clock, he'll be live with his crew, his posse at 6 o'clock. So make sure if you're an iPhone user, connect with us on there so you can talk to him live every single Thursday also. Okay. So has anyone been omitted? Anyone? My pastor always says that. Anybody been omitted from the questions? Anybody? Imani, I see you unmuting. Did you have something?
No, I just wanted to thank Malhar for sharing his story. As I think I'm a little slow getting out the gates, but I have been focusing on lease options the last 4 or 5 months. But I'm scared, to make that, to pull the trigger, but I know I have to. But it's good to know you're there, if I ever need help.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Imani, I know we've met many times before, right? If I can support you, feel free to reach out to me, even if it's to get a deal done, right? Like we can work on one together. If you have a lead, I'm
Okay,
happy to help you.
that would be
Okay.
fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
You're only licensed in Georgia, correct?
Yeah, I'm only an agent in Georgia, and yeah, and that's the only place that I invest right now. Although I own properties, we've sold our entire Kansas City portfolio, but I still own quite a number of properties in Indianapolis, just for cash flow. But you know, I put all my eggs essentially in the Atlanta basket. I still love the fundamentals of the city, and I think this city is going to keep growing. So, but I mean, a lot of places in Texas, which I think that's where you're from, Dana. Um, it's a strong market. A lot of places in
Yeah.
Texas are very strong.
Do you have any contacts for any lenders in Missouri to do like creative financing or anything?
Well, for creative financing, you don't usually need a lender because you're putting minimal money down.
Okay.
Most lenders are not necessarily going to lend on creative financing simply unless they're private lenders. Okay, hard money lenders generally won't because they don't want to be in second position. Most hard money lenders, if not all hard money lenders, will not want to loan in second position.
Okay. I'll go on and do my my research on all of the different type of I guess exits and everything, and kind of go from there. But I appreciate it. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, you're very welcome. And feel free to reach out to me on Instagram or Facebook.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right, no problem.
I love it. I think this is Judy. Judy said, I was slow getting out of the gate as well. Don't give up. It took me 11 months to get my first deal. Then she got 6 in a row. Judy, you should have told us that live. Are you there? That's amazing. But this is awesome. Anybody else? I think we kind of got everybody, but I just want to make sure. I see Judy unmuting. Did you want to say something?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you're right. I should have, but I was too busy listening and then reading. So I got, sometimes it was a few years ago, and sometimes we don't realize how much of an impact it can have on somebody until somebody reminds us. So thank you for reminding me.
Absolutely, you're very welcome, and congratulations.
Oh, thanks. It's been interesting, but I understand the fear. I mean, I was scared to death. To death. I can't tell you how scared I was. But it's working through that. It's working through it and not letting that get in the way of your potential. Because that's really, you're not your fear. You are potential. You are a possibility. Just keep going. And now, I mean, it's crazy. I was scared to talk to, well, hard to believe, but I was at one time afraid to talk to a lot of people. I was always good in small groups, but now I get up in front of large groups and chat away. So if I could do it, honey, you can.
Yep.
Oh, that's so
I agree wholeheartedly.
It's so encouraging. I'm scared to death, but you know, eventually, you know, I have to pull the trigger and try.
Well, I'll let you know a little secret. I still occasionally get scared when I get ready to sign on a deal. It's like, have I checked all my, dots, dotted all my I's, crossed all my T's? Have I covered myself good enough? It still crosses my mind, but that's not a bad thing because that makes you be certain that you really want to move forward and that you've done everything you need to do. So if it keeps showing up as you progress with your skill set, it still shows up for me. Not every time, but quite a lot of the time.
Sure.
I mean, I still get nervous. You never know how a deal is going to play out. But I want you to go back to, when you learned how to drive a car, right? The very first time you learned to drive a car, you were probably pretty nervous and you were paying attention to every single dial that was available to you, right? It's like you're sitting down and there's all these gadgets and gizmos. And nowadays, I bet you could brush your teeth, drink a coffee, comb your hair, all while driving, right? It's second nature to you, right?
Exactly.
But that's reality, right? I mean, you have to be willing to take that step. And if you're uncomfortable taking that step, reach out to the people in your market, right? Imani, you're here in Atlanta, right? You have resources here, and I'm willing to help you.
Absolutely.
I know a lot of others would be willing to help you, right?
But that's how we build confidence, is if we work through it and get to the other side. That's just the way it is. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, I'll continue.
Well, good.
Please
Glad
do.
to hear it. That's exciting.
Yeah. Keep at it. But cool. Well, thank you guys again for having me. DeOnna, if there's nothing else, I appreciate you guys, and hopefully we'll get to stay in touch and connect online and get to know each other a little bit better through social media and whatnot.
Absolutely. We appreciate you so much. We value your time. I think everyone thoroughly enjoyed this meeting, so we're grateful. I know I'll see you tomorrow in the clubhouse streets.
You will.
And okay, guys, so we're back here the first Wednesday of May. Our next speaker is going to be Keto. Keto's coming to see us, Keto J. Johnson. So we'll kind of hear things from a broker / investor perspective as well. He'll be sharing the same thing, kind of what he does in investing. So you guys do me a favor, put this on your reminders. I'll be blasting out the emails as well, but you can just set a reminder to come back here next first Wednesday at 7 p.m. Okay. All right, guys, have a great night. Thank you again, Malhar, and I'll see you tomorrow.
Sounds good.
Thanks,
Bye, guys.
DeOnna.
You guys.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Good night.
Thank you. See you.
Bye.